to,
Okay. Yeah.
sorry, if I wanted to ask for the extension for like the extra, I think it's like 3 days, do we just like, can I send you an email and then attach that into the request, or how would
Yeah.
you prefer?
Yeah, either way, you can launch your request on the Moodle site. There's a extension page, and you attach to your file. I approve it. No worries. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
no worries. Yeah. Hello, Indiana. So yeah, we maybe wait 1 more minute and we're gonna start. All right. Okay, welcome back. And this is week 6. And I hope you had a good midterm break. And we just come back this week talking about a little bit more about dressing code of your character. All right. And so it's uh, as an animator and then a 3D sculptor, you are partaking this task, partaking this role as a costume designer. And a costume designer is an individual in charge of designing clothing elements for your characters and for the film and maybe stage production in traditionally. So you have to have the skills of skill set of a similar skill set to that of traditional fashion designers. But you have to specify to satisfy the unique demands of the story for the film or for the animation. So a costume designer also is also tasked with working in concert with other designers, like makeup artists or artists, actor themselves and directors, all that, and background setting designers, all that. And but in your case, probably all by yourself, all right? But yeah, that's the scope of the work. Where traditional fashion designers might be asked to design a contemporary sort of dress, a costume designer will call upon to create a period hoop skirt that must withstand the daily wear for months and on. And the differences are theatrical costumes must adhere to the specific requirements of the narrative while also being durable enough for withstand the repeat wear and the quick changes of the between the scenes. I have this. I want to play this short YouTube video talking about that, which is quite just very brief, but quite in depth about the scope of the work. All right, let me just bring that one back. I think it's which one is that? Yeah.
Bombfell. Head over to bombfell.com/filmradar to get $25 off of your first order. Behind every memorable character is a memorable costume, and behind every costume is a costume designer. Their job is to create a look for each character that serves the needs of the story, sometimes to make a character stand out from the crowd, sometimes to blend into one, but always to make sure that they're clothed in the appropriate attire.
That's the definition of good costuming. Yeah. That it's the most appropriate That's the most appropriate thing for the character to be wearing in any scene.
Deciding on what would make for the most appropriate outfit requires a deep understanding of character and story.
As a costume designer, sometimes we're more like psychologists, figuring out our characters, where they would shop, what kind of clothes they would wear, how messy or neat they were, where their station in life. And basically, we set the time and the place with our costumes.
The first step to designing a great costume is understanding the script. For each character to feel believable, you have to consider everything about that character when designing their wardrobe, where they're from, their financial situation, how fashionably conscious they are, and not to mention the specific context of each scene. Princess Anne in Roman Holiday should be wearing something elegant while fulfilling her royal duties, and something rather dressed down while incognito in Rome.
This is what we call transformation through wardrobe.
The main things that I want to be very sure and explain to you that fashion is not the primary thing, the primary effort in motion pictures is to tell the story.
A good costume designer knows how to analyze a screenplay much like an actor would, to get inside the head of the character, to develop an understanding of the world that that character belongs to, and to design the wardrobe accordingly. After a thorough reading of the script, the costume designer will begin conversations with the director. Each director will have their own unique vision for any given project, and it's that vision that every crew member on a film should be working towards.
It is a true collaboration in that we're all reading the same screenplay. And the screenplay has clues, but then you have to have the conversation with the director, and not just one. And a lot of conversation with the director because it's the director's movie, right? Maybe not at Marvel, but you know, it's the director's movie.
Those conversations are crucial to understanding what themes are going to be explored, the transformations a character may go through, and how the costume should reflect that. How color can be used to subtly imply a character's pride in their heritage and subsequent journey to a new country, or how it can show us that a character has fallen in love, or to show us that a character has fallen out of it. A costume can show us a character following in his father's footsteps, a character's descent into a criminal underworld where moral lines become increasingly blurred, or foreshadow a character's affinity for pretty things.
There is something about him that is slightly vain, that little neckerchief that he wears. So again, it comes back to starting to let the audience know beforehand that there is something about Smeagol that isn't as endearing as a hobbit.
There are endless possibilities for costume design to contribute to the storytelling, and that's something that the costume designer and the director will work closely together to achieve. Once the vision has been established, the costume designer will often enter the research phase, an essential part of the process that doesn't just apply to a period piece, but even something like fantasy or sci-fi, because more often than not, you're pulling from real-world examples to influence your design. But even a contemporary piece still necessitates research to understand the culture or economy of any given setting and the characters that exist within. Creative license is often taken, the level of which is ultimately up to each director and designer, but regardless of how much liberty is taken with the historical references, it's still important to have a base level understanding of the history governing the clothing so that the work feels grounded in reality. Nearly every design choice has a practical function underlying the aesthetic. Understanding why something is designed a certain way allows a designer to create a costume that feels convincing within its narrative. This of course involves further collaboration with other crew such as the hair and makeup department or the production designer to follow the same guidelines as far as color palette or tone to make sure that each costume can fall into place within the larger tapestry. Before any design is manufactured, it starts as a sketch. Not only does this allow for quick changes if a certain fabric or color isn't working with the rest of the crew's designs, but most importantly, it saves the entire production valuable time and money. It also gives the costume designer the opportunity to explore their best options based on things like budget, the specific actor, or a costume's functionality, say designing an outfit that can cover the stunt rigging for Neo in The Matrix. But whatever criteria may be influencing different design decisions, I think the most important thing to realize about costume design is that everything you see a character wearing, from the lead actors to the background extras, is designed.
Nothing is random. Everything in the frame is designed to tell one story.
The reason that everything is designed is because in film, everything matters.
With a camera, you can zoom in and get close to every single part of the human body. And you can tell if a shirt has been pressed or not pressed. You can tell if shoes are cared for or neglected. You know, all of these little things that help give the audience clues about who the character is.
Once sketches have been finalized, the crew will begin manufacturing the costumes. Sometimes things can be pulled from a shelf or rack, but the vast majority of costumes have to be manufactured to maintain continuity.
All of these clothes are manufactured. Okay, designed and manufactured. Why? Fight Club. So many fights, right?
You could not just buy a piece, you had to have
doubles, triples, quadruples, right?
This is the thing most people also don't realize, that the clothes don't deteriorate through the course of making a movie. Every scene in which they're deteriorated is a separate piece.
The scale of the production is entirely based on the size of the budget and what's needed for each film, but it's not unusual to have hundreds of people working on costumes for any given project. Expert tailors, cobblers, blacksmiths, tanners will all come together to craft the costumes that you see on screen. And for a film like Ben-Hur, that involved creating thousands of costumes that were all researched and designed for every single background actor, even if they only appear for a few frames. 2 crew members at Weta Workshop famously lost their fingerprints after making the chainmail for all of the different suits of armor required for the films, which had around 13,000 rings per suit. But it's that dedication to the craft, to getting every single detail right, that makes these movies great. Costumes help to tell us something about a character and the world they inhabit. They aid the actor in the transformation process and help them to deliver their best performance. They become important pieces of iconography surrounding any classic character whose outfit is often the most recognizable part about that character.
The costumes that stick in your mind are the ones that the character has inhabited and the character has really come alive in, and that's why you remember them. That's the goal, I think.
All right, so as you can see in this brief video, and but quite in depth about the unique demands and unique scope of the costume designer's job, and it could be even more unique for animators. For modelers like you in the modern day CG area, CG field, I think that in certain sense it's easier because you're gonna do in the digitized version of that. You don't need to physically make the costume, but you have to have the vision of the like costume designers, and the whole purpose is involved around the tell the story, all right? And so what are the roles and responsibilities of costume designer? You have to by closely reading the script, talking to the directors and the writers, and knowing your characters as much as possible, and try to do the background research, compile a collection of visual references and materials and patterns or close pieces that in assembling them, but that part you are assembling them within the software. All right, so that's pretty much, and also you need to take a consideration of the plot and the chronicle demand of the story and the change of the attire. So these are the costume designer's role in filmmaking, but in animation, in the one we are working in the field of digital digital computer graphic, there are even more specification, and I summarize that into these 8 categories as a thinking process. You need to try to match, try to see how you approach this task, and those 8 essential principles are: first, you need to know what's the costume hierarchy, and its environmental relationship, and we're starting with a naked test. So we so far what you're doing is creating the physical body of your character. Once you have that, you need to on top of that start to thinking about its dress code, its outfit, and also still need to think about the shapes. We were talking about from week 1 shape motifs, and so instant readability. You need to always consider the shapes, but with the outfit, with the clothes, and thinking about action as well, and what kind of action your character gonna do. So what's that dress will affect the action, convey the action as well, and the communication, whether you want to tell more about your characters with your dressing, and there might be repetition in the patterns and the color and contrast. That's all the technicality of that. And most importantly, you have to keep it simple. You keep don't overdone it. So let me just get into more details. So like costume hierarchy, which means you need to know how often does this character appears. If it appears multiple times, that the main character, if it's a main character or whether it's a side character, so it has different demands. So when you design the costume for that, the primary character have to more complex needs than the side character, which is to say that more information you have to know about your character, and to convey its appearance. So you need to design multiple dresses for the main character. And if the character appears on whether it's on one setting or multiple settings, so you need to not only design the outfit, but the outfit to fit a particular environment and cultural background, as seen here. So if there are any changes in the story, you have to change that as well. All right, so the naked test is like you have to have the body first, right? So you need to think, is your character recognizable even without clothes on? So we're talking about shape motif in week 1, instant readability in week 1. So far you've done probably it's all about its overall body, its shapes, and we're also talking a lot about human anatomy to make the body right proportionally and anatomically. And then only once you have this body type, you define the body type, define its shape, and the main, especially for the main cast of your animation, your character, it should be distinctive without help of outfit. And once you have the naked form, and that you have the foundation of the character design, then you can start dressing them up and make sure the body is worth. But you have to, firstly, you have to make sure their body is worth dressing. So usually we starting with the naked body and then start to fit that with outfit, and eventually you can integrate your outfit with the body itself. So ideally, you make it watertight, so you only the exposed part of the body remains, and those were covered by the outfit and can be integrated to the body, technically connect together. And so you don't want underneath surfaces. If you have literally having an outfit outside the naked body, and when you animate it, it has caused a lot of penetration problem. So ideally, in the end, you have an integrated model with its original body shape together with the connected outfit on the body. And so every character, no matter how complex, should be designed around the overall unique visual shape. We're talking about that all the time, all right? So the overall shape should be conformed. The theme should not repeat in any other character. And giving a particular character, you have to distinguish shape, motif, differentiate from the other characters. And the shape should be readable enough that if you shrink all your character into a super simplified cartoon state like this, it should be easily distinguishable as well. So your dressing of your character should also reflect what your character's doing, and in what way what their clothing reasonably conveyed how they spend their time. And this is an easy question if it is uniformed occupation, such as on the right, the lady on the right. And but it certainly does not stop there. So as you can see, she's dressing a uniform and probably a professional working lady, but the raincoat expose her inner desire for probably a lifestyle of the left side, which is totally you can see that the persons on the left is some kind of a high social status, probably because her dressing code is totally and physically less practical. So that's the level of the level of the details, and that depending on your design and the desire for your character in terms of dressing. All right. And so how much does the character wish to communicate their clothing? Not everyone wears their personality on their sleeves, nor is everyone especially fashion conscious. So nothing worse than having a cast where everyone is immaculately dressed and over-designed. More outgoing characters may be more aware of their appearance, while a more introverted one may be less concerned. To add another layer, a character may dress a certain way to disguise something they don't want to show to others, just as someone might act overconfidently to hide their insecurity. You can tell your audience a lot about your character through what their character's choosing of to display to others. Seeing this example, you can see usually sort of like a hero type sort of character, because it's action figure, so it's more confident about their body shape and they are full of action. That's why they usually wearing tight suits like that to expose their body shape. I'm very confident about that. Where and also some are very fashion conscious, so they are quite outgoing in choosing their fashion style. And you can see their jewelry or the decoration, you can see that's quite fashion conscious, whereas an innocent character like this, maybe she just want to choose, she chooses her clothes just for the functionality rather than the fashion. So that's how the character communicate to the audience with their dressing. Also tell us a lot about their relationship personality in the story. And in designing the dress, sometimes you have to aware of the core shape and pattern should be repeated on the outfit. The entire design should exhibit some bilateral cohesion, which that is to say, if you were cut the character in half, horizontally or vertically, they still belong. Each part still looks like belongs to each other, and there might be some kind of repetitional patterns across the dress. So, like in this example, you'll see that the straps on the dress is quite repeating, even to the hair dressing, hair wearing as well. I read somewhere some the psychological textbooks saying that those who like to wearing stripes maybe implies some deviated sort of personality. I'm not so sure if it's true or not. All right. So that's the something you need to aware. So like a repetition like this, the sharp shape of the hair, you can see that motif repeats throughout her dress. dress patterns somewhere else. And one obvious example is the Batman dress. The sharp corner sort of spiky sort of designs repeating across the dress. All right. Other elements is just color and contrast, and a different color can imply different moods. Winter color like cooler blues and purple can suggest introspective or reserved personality, whereas a warmer color like yellow or red can imply a more energetic attitude. If your character only ever interacts in one type of setting, you only have to worry about how those color will fit in one environmental color palette. If, however, your character needs to mesh with well with more than one environment, as it's usually the case, and for a protagonist, you have to make sure your character's colors will fit with multiple settings. And above all else, keep it simple is a rule of thumb. All right, and the comic characters are not pinups or other illustrations. If you pile up on too much details, you will wear yourself out, and slogging through all the bits every time you construct them. As the 3D modelers, the more detail you design, which means the more works for yourself. So I'm not saying this design is bad, but as you can see, it's quite detailed and quite rich in terms of colors, in terms of shapes and forms. So if you get into that level, that means for a 3D artist, you're probably gonna triples, probably if not doubles, triples your workload. So keep simple is the rule of thumb before you get into details. The details should radiate from the main shape. All right, character design follows the hierarchy, and you grab a reader's attention with most essential information, then invite them in to investigate details. So if important elements of your design are only evident in details, then it needs to be reworked. If your character is not completely distinguishable in silhouette, it needs to be reworked. The detail should always radiate from the core theme. There are other perspectives you need to think about historically, and maybe sometimes the ethnicity. That's another aspect you need to concern. Whether it's fashioned or functional or magic, these are different themes. All right. So give you examples of like historically. So like that Princess Leia's outfit design, you can see it's actually extract from the ancient Greeks dress code. All right. And so Doric chiton on the Ionic chiton. This is just psychologically, subliminally implies the classic feeling of that, or royalty and the Western, quintessential Western civilization. So that's, and the color of white, it's kind of implies the purity of the princess. All right, and so if you design a costume such as the Mulan, so you have to differentiate her from the the Han nationality to the Mongols. So usually the traditional Han Chinese dress code is large sleeves and robes, and whereas the Mongol warriors have short sleeves, and so these are the differentiations you need to aware when you design. Differentiate them. Other aspects is like hairdressing, accessories, and weapons. So maybe as female designers, I'm more conscientious about the hairdress, because female usually have more options, more desire for hairdressing, right? And hairstyle can be varies quite differently. So like in traditional Chinese culture, different age of women have different specific hairstyles, and not let alone the difference between the male and the female hairstyle. So when you do a story in that cultural background, you need to aware of them and address them. Some of the hairstyle you might want to extract from the historical cultural backgrounds, such as this one, obviously extracted from the Mayans, Middle Central American mural style. So the hairdress and the hat is quite unique. And other concerns are like accessories, right? So collars, headwears, rings, bracelet, necklace, buckles, belt, and for male character, maybe the mustache, a pocket watch, hat, cigars, sticks, pipes, and for female character, maybe scarf or the handbags and jewelries. All these help, all serves the purpose to help tell more about your character. Weapon design, another large scope of works, and so you have an array of ancient weaponry. Code weapons refers to traditional weapons that do not rely on gunpowder or explosives, such as sword, spear, bows, or melee or projectile weapons. This is the Chinese from Chinese culture, from my cultural background. I remember when I was a boy, we used to fiercely debate, argue about functionality of different type of weapons. In Chinese culture, we have this 18 categories of weapon, and each has unique shape and forms and functionality. So we always between the boys, it's a hot topic of which one kind of have more advantage over which one. That sort of boys stuff, all right, discussion. And so this is the animation I when I was a boy I used to watch, and it's about the Monkey King story. I'm not so sure that you know. And when I see this particular scene, which is the fighting scene, the Monkey King fighting with the heavenly kings, I was fascinated by the weapon they using and the animation as well. Maybe I should just show you some part of it. And where is it? Sorry, I need to find the yeah. That's the Chinese animation style that influenced me quite a lot.
亮你这小。
What do you think? Yeah, at the time I was quite fascinated about that. So like ordinary items such as the umbrella and Chinese guitar can be a weapon, which is fun. That's the traditional. That was 40 years ago, 50 years ago. But the most modern version of that is this one, and that's the game animation from the game released last year about Monkey King. This is the modern rendering interpretation of this, and it's 3D.
Such power must be new to you. You should first spar with them a while.
Right, so a much more violent version of that. All right, so weapon design can be a very tricky and a very tedious work. I remember the game I used to play, the Diablo 1. The weapon system is so complicated and there's so many weapons because of the computer randomly generated different types of weapons and armors that have different magic properties. But I think about that, how many graphics, how many graphic elements the designer has to come up with to have a large amount of them to be prepared for the graphics. So that's kind of the task, the scope of the task you might later in your career encounter. All right. And of course, as a 3D CG artist, you have to add more, spice this one up. You are designing a unique particular shape and form, making it more interesting and more attractive to the contemporary gamers and contemporary players. So that means you have to come up with unique shapes and forms. And whether you want to design it in a retro style or futuristic style, right? So it's up to you to making a design choice, design concerns. The actual weaponry design, whether it's modern or ancient, it's all more about functionality. Actually, you have to use that in the battles, in the battlefield. But for us, as a CG artist, we are more concerned about the look and to try to invoke some kind of fantasy. All right, so it's not totally practical, such as the feather. Probably in a battlefield, it's gonna kill, hinders you rather than helps you. All right, but it looks cool. It looks interesting. So that's why we choose that. All right. So we designed that. All right. And so you have to, when you design the costume outfit for your character, you need to lots of concern, material, what's the material, what's the pattern, what's the color, and what's the shining part of that, what's the so various aspects of that. Also, you need to concern about its movement later on because it's doing animation. So your design should be not hinders the so like so for in this example, you can see that at the abdomen you have this spike in the middle. So I was just thinking, when you bend over, what's going to be? Is it going to hurt yourself? So this sort of design is probably not a clever design, but but it doesn't matter as long as it look rich, look good. Maybe nobody take that much detail into account. All right. So that's that. So again, a good costume design, the basic is the same as you design the character from the very beginning of this course, and you have to make it readable, instantly readable. Silhouette and essential shape should be instantly recognizable, and it should be informed. And the costume should be tell the readers essential things about the character. It should be compelling. The costume should then invite the reader to learn more about the character, and also need to consider into the try to never impede the flow of action within the comic. All right, so in this week's tutorial, I curated the several YouTube. You're going to use the Maya sculpt tools to sculpt the surface qualities, some of the creases or some of the folds and of the dress. So you need to know a bit more in depth about the sculpting tool Maya provides. This help file will help you with that. Yeah, so if you go to that, so you need to sometimes when you follow the video tutorial, if you want to have gaining more sense about what the tool actually function, you might want to check this help file about the detailed description of those tools. All right, so understand its functionality for you to create particular surface patterns, surface qualities. All right, the other one is the some of the online. It used to be free, but as I found out, it's now charging. But the purpose of that I introduced here is because I want you to maybe download those existing models. You can learn from others as well how the dress folds at particular parts of the body, and helps you maybe give you some of the hints and ideas of when you're sculpting your own dress folds and all that creases. But unfortunately, it's not charging. It used to be totally free when I first introduced this one. And but there are plenty of reference online. You can search online, so like a CG Trader, search online some of the free models with the dress. If you want to understand, or you just observe in the daily life of yourself and looking at the how the dress folds and what the draperies looks like. All right, and so lastly, I want to play this one, which is discuss the technological achievement and advancement at Pixar, and particularly in the realm of CG clothing. It highlights the meticulous efforts and the detailed work that goes into this area, and ultimately leading to the fantastic results we see in their blockbuster animations. Let's go back to this one.
From their first animated short in 1997 to Onward in 2020, Pixar has evolved a lot. Animals look more real. We went from smooth fur to seeing every moving strand. And human characters went from stiff to natural and cute. But there's another area of innovation that you might not have noticed in the 25 years Pixar's been around: clothes. The studio has come a long way since the suit jacket in 1997's Jerry's Game. Such a long way that an entire character in 2020's Onward is just made of a pair of pants. To see just how far they've brought their cloth technology, you just have to look at how they animated the dad in Onward. A central character in a Pixar movie will have their clothing built from scratch, starting with a whole set of sketches and concept art. This design stage is especially important when the costume figures prominently into the story, as Dad's does in Onward. The film's premise is that these brothers use a magic spell to connect with their late father, but are only able to conjure up the bottom half of him, his pants. They improvise an upper half for their dad out of an old sweatshirt, some pillow stuffing, gloves, and a trucker hat, which meant all of this had to seem thrown together, but in a funny, endearing way.
He needs to be appealing, right? We need to believe both that you could be a sweatshirt, but maybe from the squinting out of the corner of your eye, you're like, oh, that might be a real person.
Once a character's wardrobe is designed, all the art reference gets handed over to Pixar's character tailoring artists, who basically act as digital tailors for the film. It's their job to worry about every single piece of clothing you see in a movie like Onward. Their first task is to bring the clothes into virtual form by modeling them in the computer. They build a 3D shape, or model, of each garment, then fit it onto the character model, also known as the skin. As part of the fitting process, they'll take the character through a series of animated poses to see how the clothing fits. This is where things got tricky with Dad. His lower body was like a traditional character. There was an animated skin underneath those pants, but his upper half was supposed to be made of cloth and stuffing, with no skin or bodily structure underneath it. Here's where the next stage, simulation, came in. Simulation is a way to automate the movement of elements like clothing, fur, and hair that would take too long to animate by hand. Pixar first used cloth simulation in 1997's Jerry's Game, a 5-minute short that was shown before A Bug's Life in theaters. At first, Jerry's baggy suit wouldn't fit with his movement outside of the default T-pose. When he lowered his arms, for example, the fabric bunched up in his armpits. Steve Jobs suggested they ask designer Giorgio Armani for tailoring help. Instead, they came up with a long-term solution, writing a software for a simulator that would govern the jacket's behavior. By 2001's Monsters, Inc., Pixar had set up a dedicated simulation department and built a simulator engine called Fizz-T, which helped control the folding of Boo's loose t-shirt. Fizz-T is the same program used on Onward. It basically functions like a computer, calculating how cloth should realistically respond to a character's movements and surroundings, how it should move with the character's body, and in response to different forces.
For that, we need motion from the animation department on the character. The character animator moves the lower body around like they walk the legs around, and we start simulating it.
But because Dad's upper half is all clothes and no body, simulation played an even more important role than usual.
We had to make him believable, like that it's really all the motion is driving from his hips. Since his arms don't have muscles in them, they just need to kind of flop around, which can be a really challenging thing to animate. There are a bunch of shots in the movie where the entire upper body, the blue vest, the gray sweatshirt, the hands, which are actually just like worked gloves, and the hat and the glasses are all simulated. There's a lot of sort of interplay between the animation and the simulation there, and making it feel both kind of intentional, but also believable that it's not really a person in there.
Since Dad's upper half is basically a lump of stuffing, it required what's called a volumetric sim, a simulation for something that's thick and has volume. To make the stuffing look nice and cushy, they used technology from an unlikely source, the octopus Hank from Finding Dory, a film that Chris actually worked on. The scene that introduced Hank in that movie took a full 2 years to make. And in the final version, a lot of Hank's charm comes from his squishy, squashy motion.
The volumetric simulation, the squishiness of Hank, was the precursor to the squishiness for Dad.
Another beloved Pixar film that Chris worked on, Coco, also helped lay the groundwork for the advanced level of cloth simulation in Onward.
The intense layering of cloth and complexity and detail that we got from Coco made it possible for us to make more complex and interesting characters on Onward. And just the speed of our simulator got a lot better, so Dad wouldn't have been possible without the work that was done on Coco.
As viewers, we have an intuitive understanding for how clothes should move on a body. And if simulation does its job, those cloth dynamics will look natural on screen. But when looking at clothes, we also instinctively know how light should reflect off a certain surface, and where we might see scratches or fraying threads or pilling. That's where we get to the shading, or surfacing, part of the process. When Pixar's shading artists add highly detailed patterns, tints, and finishes to make each garment look true to life, we see a variety of different fabrics on the characters in Onward, and each is treated differently by Pixar's shading artists. They have the advantage of many years of shading technologies, developed for earlier productions like 2012's Brave. Back then, the challenge of shading Marita's period dresses and her father's 16 layers of costume produced what the studio calls loom technology. This program basically weaves every strand of virtual fabric into a shading software, giving clothes richer detail and a more tactile quality. Pixar also made breakthroughs in shading with 2018's Incredibles 2. Since fashion is such a big part of the Incredibles movies, one of Pixar's design goals for the second film was to make their garment shading work better with extreme character movements, like those of the highly kinetic Elastigirl. Pixar developed technology to preserve fine texture and illumination details in the characters' supersuits, even when the fabrics were stretched or compressed. In Onward, shading really helps to sell the textures of the clothes on screen. The shiny leather of Dad's shoes, the fuzziness of his sweatshirt, and the puffiness of his vest. Without any shading work, that vest might look more like plastic than the nylon material it's supposed to be. Once the shading artists get all the materials down, they add signs of wear and tear, like scuff marks on Dad's shoes and subtle stains on his vest. When watching the movie, you probably wouldn't actively notice these touches.
But without them, without those imperfections they're very specific handmade imperfections, it doesn't feel real.
Another way to make the clothes look lived in is through wrinkling, which is usually a collaborative project between the tailoring and shading artists. If we take another look at the vest, those bigger wrinkles and bumps were modeled into the garment by Chris as part of the tailoring process.
The high-frequency detailed wrinkles were done in shading. So the part where you could see the puffiness cinch down into the seams, those very fine wrinkles are shaded wrinkles.
Wrinkle patterns are customized for each individual garment, depending on what fabric they're supposed to be and where the artistic direction is going.
The wrinkles on the face, we wanted them to be wrinkly enough that they felt like it could be a real sweatshirt, but they couldn't be so wrinkly that it looked like a scary monster. For the tailor, what that means is we think about how the wrinkles should develop. So we'd have a bunch of different head shape poses, head tilt to the left, head tilt to the right, and the transition between those poses to make sure that the wrinkles that we were making felt right.
Once every single garment has the right amount of texture, it should be looking like real-world fabric, which means the clothing process is pretty much complete. All that's left is rendering all of the shots, the final step in Pixar's production pipeline. The more advanced Pixar's cloth simulation gets, the more power is needed to render each shot. Monsters, Inc., for example, required more rendering power than Pixar's 3 previous features combined, partly because of how complex the cloth and fur simulation was relative to earlier films. Luckily, the studio keeps developing newer and faster processors to do the job. It's Pixar's blending of state-of-the-art technology, grounded in hard math and physics, with imaginative fashion and art direction, that makes its costume design language so appealing, and lets an outfit like Dad's play its very own role in the storytelling.
All right, so as you can see, the technology is now getting more and more advanced. As you can see, they dedicated to special software for their projects. And in Maya, you have a cloth simulation package as well. I leave that part to you to explore after you've done this. But for the moment, it's not in our luxury to explore that aspects of that, but it's good for your information to know that you have a another approach as more kind of physical accurate approach for simulating the clothes. But for the moment, what we need to concern is more about how do we do the clothing in modeling our clothing first. All right. So in this week's tutorial, I introduced a whole bunch of them. They're all starting from we said naked body and start to duplicate surfaces from the original naked body surfaces and start to sculpt the wrinkles and folds of the dress accordingly. And sometimes we need to convert the extracted simple polygons, coarse polygons into high definition and start to sculpt the wrinkles and the folds. And then afterwards, you generate the normal map from that high resolution one and map back to the coarse version of the model. So that's the approach, and in this video you'll see that we're talking about costume hierarchy. You might want to duplicate multiple clothes from the body to address your characters in a different costume outfit. All right. The last one is not a tutorial per se. It's just showing you how it's a speed record, showing you how when you are having a heavy armor, sort of, you are practically construct a whole set of assets for your character, and have to go through all the process of sculpting the details, wearing in tears, and generate a map from them, and then come map back to the original surfaces. So it's a tedious job, but it's totally feasible and doable. So without further ado, I encourage you to start to thinking about what kind of outfit you want to design for your or create for your character. All right, any questions? Good. All right, so it's been quiet. I'm not so sure how far did you go. Yeah. How anyone want to share your current progress of your character? Do you have your naked body already for your character? Not entirely. Oh, good. That's good. Yeah, you need to hurry up, and the assignment is due by this week. So okay, to do the head. Yeah. Yeah, any if you want some feedbacks, and post it your screenshots or that to the models, or you just send me emails and about in regard or any technical issues emerges. Yeah, feel free to contact me. All right. All right. So yeah, don't worry. We can communicate through chat, but if you want to share your screen. Megan, let's go.
Out my
Yeah. So you want to show something?
it's not great, but I just figured I'd show you what I've got so far.
Yeah, that's great.
Share my screen. Here we go. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I've got at the moment. I just connected the head to the body during the class. So
Okay.
it's still really rough, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to see what it kind of looked like altogether because I did the head in a separate project.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, I still got a lot more like smoothing to do, but thankfully I've been able to keep that faces like down pretty low. Because I've just
That's good. Yeah.
starting small, like you said. So I think it's kind of working finally.
Yeah, that's good. That's
I'm
good.
having a problem with the feet here.
Yeah.
Like we've got those lines there, and I'm not sure, like those indents, I'm not really sure how, like why they're there
Okay.
exactly. But then like um if I like try to move it or anything, it like does that thing.
All right. So that means you have some maybe redundant faces during the process of your modeling. You have some kind of manifolds faces hidden in those areas. So
Right.
yeah. Uh, uh, Let me think about solution for that. You might want to, for example, if you switch to the vertices, yeah, and you select that particular vertices and marquee select that particular one, marquee select them, yeah, and not yeah, not click on them, just marquee select it.
Okay.
Not the two, just that one. Because I think you have multiple, you might have multiple vertices, overlaps each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you marquee select that particular point, and you can click on the merge vertices tool to actually merge them.
Is it this one here?
Yeah. But you have to open the no. Yeah. So the threshold, the distance threshold, yeah, that's enough. That's enough. And you merge that. And might locally merge those overlapped vertices to eliminate any redundant faces.
Okay.
That's the idea.
Okay, right, I see. Yeah, because I had that problem up here like a couple days ago with like the hips. I actually had to like restart it because it got so messed up. But I think
Yeah.
that's the issue. I had a lot of redundant
Yes.
problems.
When you encounter things like that, the hidden geometry you can't see, you might want to use this techniques. Just merge the vertices locally,
Yeah.
so that it to eliminate those hidden faces or hidden
Yes. Right.
edges.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Is
what
it
would
is this a female or male?
it's a female, it's supposed to be.
A female. Okay. So
Yeah.
I suggest the hip width a little bit larger, and
Mhm.
also having her as a T pose rather than this current one. If you the straight down arms, when you rig it, it might causing some problems.
Okay.
Yeah, I suggest to do a T pose rather.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do that then.
And widen the hip width so
Right.
that yes, suggest a little bit more about the female characters. And also the neck is bit that you have bottleneck sort of in the middle.
Yeah, I just did the neck, so there's a
Yeah,
lot more I have to do to
Try,
make it.
try to shape it in a more proportionally gradually a bit wider to the
Yeah.
shoulder, merge with the shoulder. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just like your drawing. Your drawing is much better shape, but currently it's the transition is a little bit not that smooth. Yeah, you have to have a little bit slopes in the back. So just this little tiny little details, nitty gritty of that.
Okay, so that's what you would recommend is just going through smoothing things, like just changing the geometry a little bit to make it more realistic from now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the it turned out to be good. It's actually quite looking quite good, and also quite loyal to the original drawing, which is good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll get
The middle crease, can you eliminate that? They have a little.
I wasn't sure exactly how to do because I was following along with one of the videos from the earlier tutorials through the week, like,
Yeah.
and when I duplicated it or did something like,
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how, would that be merging the vertices? Is that?
Yeah, merging vertices again.
Okay.
Here. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give that a go then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Good,
Awesome.
good.
Thank
Looking
you.
good. Looking good. Yes, I agree.